Our special guest today is a seasoned journalist with 20 years of experience interviewing luminaries like Mikhail Gorbachev and Leo Messi, one of the top soccer stars in the entire world. She has been in the world of communications and journalism since the age of 12. She has a tremendous wealth of experience. She's everything from an influencer, a spokesperson, and a communications coach. She's got a tremendous range of experience covering weddings of the royals in London. She has worked in many, many continents, appeared as a broadcast reporter, journalist, host, and anchor. I'm very happy to have on the show with us today, Yulia Zava. Thank you so much for joining us today and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning,
Yeah.
TJ. Good morning, our beautiful audience.
Now, how did you get into this whole world at the age of 12? I mean, you're many, many decades younger than I am, but still you weren't, it's not like today where there are kids who are getting on TikTok at 7 and becoming celebrities. How did you get in at age 12?
Thank you for this question. So right now I'm in beautiful, although cloudy Los Angeles. So I was born in a small town in a rural part of USSR. At that time, it was Republic of Bashkortostan. And in our little hometown, we had a TV station, and they decided to launch the program for like schools. And I was so excited to audition. I was 12. It was hundreds of kids auditioning, and I was so excited. And at first I failed, but I knew that this is so much in my heart, in my God's given talent. So I continued, and somehow I persuaded at the age of 12, persuaded them to give me a chance to shoot like a news story for I can't even remember what was the subject, something like kids are interested. And they loved it so much. And I knew I have this talent for interviewing, for being curious, for getting to know people, do the stories. And I've been working for this school kind of level for the school kids channel since I was 12. And then when I turned 18 and I moved to a bigger city, it's like a couple of million people live there, and we had a TV station covering like a local news. I got to work there for, actually, it's a long story. So yes, that's how I began. And then I continued my career into a professional journalism and graduated up and up and up.
And who were your role models growing up as communicators? Well, certainly within your country, and they may be people we're not as familiar with. I mean, so many Americans are familiar of a certain age or are familiar with Mikhail Gorbachev, but were there other people on the world stage you really admired as communicators and said, that's who I want to be when I grow up?
This is a great question. I am trying to find an answer if someone like specifically influenced me. I would say probably not at a young age, but when I began going to a professional school of journalism to become a professional journalist, at that time we had this independent opposition TV channel, and they would influence on us all those values, like what does journalism have to be, like telling the truth, finding the truth, helping people, like what's the purpose of journalism. So that TV channel was very inspiring. Unfortunately, later on the government bought it, and then no more true
Yeah.
journalism, which is a sad part.
Well, I mean, politics is important in the world. In this channel, we tend to just not go and delve into it deeply because it's so polarized.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes, I am so like
we tend to focus on the
far away from
pure sort of
pure
apolitical
communication. Yes.
communications issues.
So
But I mean, I can tell you, until 5 years ago, I appeared regularly on the Russian TV, several of the two state-owned Russian TV networks.
Which ones?
And was it
If you remember.
RT? Oh, RT was one of them. I've been on, dozens and dozens of times, and one of the other secondary ones as well. So I know you have a lot of experience with different types of TV networks. What have you seen as the biggest change in the media landscape since you've been active? And I mean, just 20 years ago was a completely different media world than even 10 years ago or 5 years ago. In some ways, the last 2 years is very different from 5 years. What are the biggest trends that you've seen as you've ridden a career path along different ways?
So as you mentioned, a lot of opportunities for people just to put themselves out there, right? With like TikTok, YouTube, streaming, podcasts, like all of those. So yes, definitely a lot more people. But again, with this huge pool of quantity, the quality is sometimes very questionable, right? So where before you had a couple of like big channels like CNN, Fox News, etc., right? But then you would have to be really good at your profession to climb on top. So now everyone can do it. And sometimes it's even harmful if you listen, like sometimes randomly, like YouTube shows you something and I was like, what is this garbage I'm listening to? And like right now I am completely shifted from news, completely shifted from like anything upsetting. So my focus is on, like, I just launched my YouTube channel called All Things Happy, where I plan to interview people who make differences, who make changes, who are not like whiny people complaining about the weather, politics, etc., but who is like rolling their sleeves up and inspiring. I don't know if it's like a small community around them or globally for the whole world. Like if it's something about the environment, if it's just like bringing some joy to elderly people, giving them like arts and crafts classes, something like this. So this is where I shifted my focus, and like YouTube is also something I'm looking forward to. So I have not been an expert in this area, and for the last maybe 10 years, I've been mostly focusing on like being brand ambassador for brands. So I would shift a little bit my way of communication into being more present in like big conferences,
Let's
trade
go a
shows.
little deeper into that brand
Sure,
ambassadorship and
sure.
what that means. For those of you just joining us, our very special guest is Yulia Zava. She's an internationally renowned communications expert, journalist, communicator, and brand ambassador. We're happy to have her on the show today. First of all, let's just take a step back a minute. Define for us what a brand ambassador is. How is it different from an influencer? How is it different from Kim Kardashian? How is that different from someone of the first rungs who just became an Amazon influencer and made 10 cents from their first commission?
So which brand ambassadors jobs I've done and what I'm referring for, it's those huge conferences. Let's say in San Francisco, it's huge Mascot Center. In Los Angeles is Convention Center. In New York, I believe it's called Javits Center. So they would have different shows. Like when Bitcoin was huge, or like cryptocurrency just started being such a thing, they would have International Blockchain Forum in Miami, like something like this. And so brand ambassadors are well-spoken, usually good-looking people. Like I also have modeling background, so they would have people like this who will be smiley, welcoming, and of course we have to have brains. I even work with one company who like specifically branded it like they are like models, but they are like tech savvy with high degrees and like finances, etc. And you basically the front point of contact. It's not on TV, it's not on social media, it's in person. When you have thousands of people in those conferences, you the first they see, and then they will be asking you, oh, what is this? Or you will be telling them like, have you heard of this new app we just launched? And you basically, you know how they say like an elevator speech, so you kind of present them quickly an elevator speech to grab their attention. Once they're interested, then you can get into more detail. So your job would be to know some interesting facts, you know, like of course it's helpful if you are an expert, or you at least like passionate and understanding the ins and outs of like say like high
Mhm.
tech, or like if you're in auto conference, like if of automobiles. So that's basically what brand ambassadors do, and
Mhm.
it's a huge
How does
market.
how does someone work their way up the different levels of brand ambassadorship? Because I do know of some car, if it's a car show, some car dealers or manufacturers may hire pretty people and they might only pay them $100 a day. And other brands may hire Kim Kardashian or Tiger Woods and it's $2 million a day. Well, there's obviously a big gap between
Huge,
$100 a
of course.
day and 2 million. How does someone work their way up the brand ambassador food chain?
Yeah, like as you mentioned, exactly, timing is changing so drastically in the last few years with all this like influencers such as the ones you mentioned getting like millions of followers, and of course it is changing game completely. So like I would say before COVID, when the things were in the normal way, so usually you would start as like a promo model or brand ambassador, and then you can graduate like the next level as product specialist, which is already way higher pay rate. So the rates usually start from like $100 an hour and up. So if you're a product specialist, let's say if you in an auto business, then you can be like giving the test drives, it's already higher pay rate. Or like you can be MC, master of ceremonies, and you will be talking to the audience at the show with the microphone on the stage, like being a host, being a presenter. So that's another upgrade. So I think there are different paths to this, but most likely like you start with a brand ambassador or are you still there, TJ?
Oh, yes.
You disappeared. Yeah, so then you make your way. Mm,
We're trying to create a little variety with the looks, and then
okay, that's what you're doing. Okay.
things about media today is, YouTube is different from broadcast TV, and TikTok is different from YouTube, and what works and what doesn't work. So uh, let's talk about some of those changes, because even though we're of different eras, I also started my career, so to speak, at age 12 when I went on my junior high school newscast to do what we had a bicentennial minute. It was the celebration of the 200th anniversary of the United States. This was way back in 1976. Was the first time I went in front of a camera and delivered a part of a news segment. I didn't go the traditional journalist route, but certainly back then and when you started, if you wanted to be a TV person, a professional journalist, communicator, you would go to broadcast journalism school. You would then work at a major network. Today, it's very different. On the one hand, the gatekeepers are gone. Anyone can they could broadcast 8 hours a day on YouTube or TikTok. So in some ways, it's 1,000 times better for people because there are no gatekeepers. You can start a blog, you can self-publish a book, you can do a audio podcast. You can do anything and no one can tell you no. On the other hand, it's very hard to just say, okay, I want to go ahead and get a job where I can pay rent and I want to do this thing. You have to be much more of a self-starter, much more entrepreneurial. What would be your advice to, let's say, someone 21 has got a college degree in, let's say, history? They really like communication. They like journalism, but they like speaking. They like communicating. They've just moved to LA. And let's say, man or woman, let's just say hypothetically they're better looking than average. What would be your advice to them if they said to you, look, I've got savings that will keep me alive and fed and housed for the next 8 months. I'm willing to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. What's your advice to me so that 8 months from now, I'm not rich, I'm not expected to be a millionaire, but I am supporting myself and I have now a trajectory for a lot of options for making money? What would be your advice?
Hi, TJ. You're giving me a tricky question. I would be Tanya Robinson if I were answering this question. So I honestly think everyone, especially in this business, like in acting, in TV broadcasting, have their own path. Like, look at the famous story of Harrison Ford when he was a carpenter, and then George Lucas says, "Oh my gosh, you my next Indiana Jones," right? So I think, like on my TV experience, when I turned 18, I went to Moscow. It was so extremely tough. I had to sleep like at the train station, wash my hair in a sink in a bathroom. Like, I don't think many people of my age, like many girls, would be willing to go through this. I just had my belief, my dream, my passion so strong that I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be on TV. I want to do news. I want to do like investigation. I want to do stories. And I was literally walking in a huge like TV station, like saying, "Hi, I'm very talented. I just moved from Bashkortostan. Can I please show you what I can do?" And it did work. It wasn't from like the first person, but like eventually it's like, sure, like do you want to be like a criminal reporter? Like, we had a murder on that corner. Do you want to go shoot it? And I'm like, sure, I'll go do this. And so I think that was my path, because I just was so curious. Like, and my favorite part of making news is that every single day I would come across completely different stories. I interviewed spacemen, and I would be like, oh my gosh, were you able to have sex on the space? Like, is it possible to conceive a baby? Like, those discussions keep going on. Like, how did you go to the bathroom? What did you eat? How was it to see the Earth? Like, imagine, like, I have goosebumps, like seeing the Earth for the first time, like in the 60s from above. So, and I've got every single day to do all this like amazing stories with completely different people. As I mentioned to you briefly, like I would interview serial killers, and it's still interesting to pick their brain. Like, they're such a good father figures.
If you don't mind, let's go a little deeper. Tell us in detail about what you heard and learned that surprised you about one of the most interesting interviews you've ever done, whether it's a serial killer or an astronaut.
Oh, so many great ones. So I think you will like the story because it's kind of in an array of communication skills. So I had this, as if a punishment. My boss sent me to interview, like, to do the story of this annual safety on the road thing. Usually those stories are extremely boring, and it's kind of hard to, like, as a good journalist, you would always try to find the story from the perspective of a person. You always want to tell a story, as we know, right? And a good, like, uh, public speaking, we want to have a story. So I would look into every time when I would go make a TV story, I would always go and find who is my hero. Like this, you always want to start with the person. And in those events, usually it's extremely challenging to find a fun and exciting story. So, but you still do this. So, and I had to interview the head of like it would be like DMV of this republic where I was from, like huge guy, like I say it literally and figuratively. He was big like a whale, but he was so extremely powerful. Like he was the huge general with a lot of stars on his shoulders. Everyone was like so afraid of him. And here I am, like 19, whatever, like 18, 19-year-old girl, like in a short skirt. And I start interviewing him. And I don't know if you ever seen like Soviet Union TV. They would be like, like the death toll is true. I was like, no. We're gonna cut it right here. No one's gonna watch it. And it's like a silence. All of his subordinates, they feel so like, oh my gosh, how is she dare speak to him like this? And I'm like, imagine you are speaking to your grandchild. Like, how would you talk to them? How would you get them excited? Because that's like who your audience is. Like, it's going to be regular people. Like, they're not interested in the statistics. Like, and I would give them like specific questions. And he completely opened up. It was like this huge general, completely changed. He, for the first time, I believe, like probably in his career, spoke as a normal person. And this material comes out. He kept calling me, sending me flowers for years and years. He's like, Yulia, I've never looked so good before. I've never been so human before. Like, all of my relatives, all of my family, all of my friends loved this interview. He framed it. He loved it. And I was very proud of myself for, like, this is my ability, which also helped me, like, with interviewing like Gorbachev or like those people in prison. When you try to kind of break their mask, they so used to putting on themselves or like using those words they say they think they make them smart. When you just get to them as a people, like when you find out what excites them, what part you can relate to, that's, I think, the
Tell
key
us
to
about, you mentioned Gorbachev, and
Mhm.
he is a name that resonates with so many,
Sure.
not just Americans, but people around the world. Obviously, a huge and influential figure in world history. What did you take away from your interview with him? And my understanding is, the perception of him in the West is very different from the perception in his home country. Again, we're not going to get into the politics
Exactly,
of
agree with you.
countries right now. But tell me, what did you do to prepare for someone like that? Because I do have a lot of colleagues who had the opportunity to interview Mandela or really high profile world leaders, and they'll often spend, weeks in preparation trying to come up with that question that hasn't been asked before. How did you prepare for the interview? And what do you feel you got out of that interview that was different from what he said at every other interview?
So TJ, my interview was very specific because at that time I was making documentaries, like investigative documentaries for the major TV channel for the prime time. It was like Sunday night, and I had the highest ratings. So it was me and like a few other people. So we would rotate, like my film comes out this Sunday, then my colleagues comes out next Sunday. So we were in strict deadlines, and the topics were always something like people who survived an airplane crash, like cannibalism, like all those, kind of like shocking people, which I'm not proud. Like right now, I would not do this. But at that time, when I just moved to Moscow and I was so like eager to do something, it still was a great experience. But again, like now being wise, I understand that this is like awful. Like why people want to watch those terrible things, like shocking, sensational. So the story about Gorbachev, there was an attempt of assassination on him. I think it was like towards the end of his presidency. Someone wanted to shoot him, and they did shoot him, and his bodyguard succeeded like throwing himself in front of Gorbachev, and that story was not very much discussed, but we found some archive materials from like KGB or whatever it's called right now, right? And then, so our subject, my goal was to interview Gorbachev on that topic. And of course, he refused to talk on that topic. And so we kind of like, even though it was like a major TV station, we still had to go into those tricks. So we went to this big meeting. It was like some political rally or something. I can't even remember what was it. So we did get credentials because, of course, they want a journalist at those events. And my boss, I don't know, again, like nowadays it would not work again, but it was so much like sexism at the time. And I did not perceive it as something bad. Also, my boss was like, literally, Yulia, put your shorter skirt, because like I have long legs, I'm gorgeous, I do modeling as well. He's like, Yulia, put your shorter skirt, you're going to interview Gorbachev right now. So we did not have like much time to prepare. Plus it was the those specific questions we needed to ask about this attempt of assassination. So we just go there to this big, like was older people, like Gorbachev himself, like talking smart, like political talks, like reminiscing about like 19 whatever 60s. And then when my time came, it was like a lot of people who wanted to talk to him. When my time came, I did ask him all of those questions. I had about probably like 20 minutes. And the interesting thing, which I was still laughing at, Gorbachev is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. So he kept talking for those 20 minutes, kept talking, very passionately.
Was
Never
he
ever
answering your
once,
questions, or was he
never
just?
ever once he answered my question. I don't know if it's a good public speaking trait or not. He spoke very much, like looking into my eyes, very passionate. Never answered my questions once.
And what was the dynamic? I mean, was it too awkward to interrupt and say, "Excuse me, you're not answering my question. I want to know this." Did you have, were the norms of the time that you had to be totally deferential and not interrupt him, or how did that work?
You have to, yes, like you have like bodyguards and like people from PR, like people from his campaign, like next to you. So yeah, you have to kind of say, oh my gosh, this is so interesting, but please tell me a little bit more of this. So you couldn't be like, just no, you're not answering my question. You had to still be like, oh, thank you so much. And then you have to find a way. I did manage to, we did make this film, we did use this interview, so I did manage like somehow.
So what did you use? Did you show footage of yourself asking the question and then say, but when I asked him this, he didn't answer, he said this, or were you not allowed to make him look bad in that way?
I don't think we were necessarily caring much of making or not making him look bad. I think eventually in the 20 minutes, probably he did say something like in a way of like, Oh, I don't remember much details. Yes, it's happened. Like probably he did say something which we could use, but it was not what we were hoping for. Get like heartfelt reminiscence of that story. So we have this Hollywood-like thing. So I think like eventually towards the end, I still get it out of him, but it wasn't that exciting. But the interesting part was, yeah, how you can answer for 20 minutes to the question and never
Let's look
really
at
get
this from a
something.
different perspective because you're also a communications consultant. If you were working for a high profile politician, let's say in the United States today, and pretty much every high profile politician gets death threats on a weekly, if not a daily basis, it's something they don't want to talk about, and you can understand why. Because if a politician, if you're the mayor of a large city in Southern California, for example, you don't want a news story about, well, yeah, I got this death threat and my family and I were so scared. It ruined our weekend. We sat there hiding under the couch, because that sort of makes other people think, oh, we can get to him. We can intimidate him. So there are a lot of real strategic reasons why a politician who might normally be transparent on every issue of public concern wouldn't want to talk about that and make it a bigger story. What would be your advice if you were hired as a communications consultant to a politician who does face this issue?
TJ, thank you again for your interesting questions. I am not in a position whatsoever answer these questions. Like I love to coach startup founders because this is very like far away from politics, no death threats. It's like something they making to change the world. They coming up with some amazing things. They're so passionate about it, but they just very shy. And that's what I find more rewarding working with them, because you let them see their own light, their own like amazing thing they created, and they should not ask for someone else's like permission how to present it. I was like, you created this product, you are passionate, just like go with it. So I'm kind of not a by book public speaking coach. I always be like, be yourself, everyone is already taken, like this is your product, just feel it, go for it.
So
So
here's my challenge, I guess. I've heard the advice of, be yourself, be yourself. What I have found, whether it's a startup founder or anyone else, is everybody has different elements of their self. How you are at a funeral is different than how you are at a football game or a soccer game. How you are with your grandmother is different than how you are with five friends at a bar after a glass or two of wine. Everyone has different elements of themselves. And the problem a lot of people have, if they're all of a sudden asked to give a speech or an interview about their startup business, is they are themselves, but they are themselves as they are when they are nervous and tense and uncomfortable, which means they tighten up. Their volume goes down. Their voice becomes flat and monotone. They are being themselves in the mode of when they're scared, when they're nervous, when they're uncomfortable. So I have found just telling people to be yourself isn't really helpful. What I want them to do is be yourself when you are in a situation where you're completely relaxed and comfortable and your hands are moving and your face is expressive and you're speaking about something passionate, even when you're in an uncomfortable situation, like a journalist interviewing you, or you're on stage when there's 100 people looking at you. I mean, that's my approach. Walk us through your approach if someone is a startup founder, let's say they're 23, they've just raised their first million, and now they got to spend their time talking to tech media, to other investors, to employees, to industry conferences. Walk us through your approach of how you help someone like that.
of course, we would have like a structure. Structure always helps, right? So once you have a nice presentation, you already have your skeleton, your foundation. So you feel confident. And I know that they are confident and comfortable and knowledgeable of all of those like tech aspects of those, like they can break you financial like numbers, business plans, everything you need. So what I find is exactly what you described. Again, I lived in Bali and I've done yoga for many years. Once I moved to Los Angeles, I started doing acting. So I've taken all of the acting classes. Once I was on TV, I had all those voice and speech and body trainings. Like modeling helps you again to communicate with cameras. So I feel like with all of those my approaches from Eastern philosophy, from like Western techniques, like traditional like Stanislavski techniques, I would what I like most passionate about, what I love most, I always look at the person like individually, because everyone needs different. Like if they need to work on their speech, we have tongue twisters. Like I have all of the exercises, like with the corkscrew. Did I say it right? Well, no, with the wine cork. I was like
The
mixing two words.
corkscrew, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so like I have all of those, but what you said, I completely agree with that. They cannot be nervous themselves. We do have all of those, like a Superman, Superwoman exercise, building up your confidence before that. Like you, like a Tarzan, like you. I'm very good psychologist. I would say, like observing people. I would see like where you need to give them a little encouragement, a little nudge to make them shine their own brightness. And what you mentioned about like when you have public speaking on a big stage, or like when I was broadcasting news live for like millions of you. I also worked for radio, like biggest radio, Russian radio, Ruskaya radio. It's like the biggest radio station in the world, and I would do news many times a day. You still get that chills, but it's thrilling, it's exciting. Like I love this energy, I love this excitement. Like sometimes you're already presenting a piece of news and they say, oh, it's not ready. Like when I started, I was dreadful of those moments, but later on I would be like, yes, give me more of those. Like I felt this excitement. So I say just get to not fighting those things, but like get that energy, right? You're afraid to speak in front of your 23-year-old startup founder. You're afraid to speak in front of big audience. Acknowledge it. You are going to feel this, but maybe like as an actor, like use it as a fuel, use it for your energy, use it for your performance. And again, what I started from, I keep bringing them back to their product. Why in the first place they came up with this product? Because they're passionate about it. And this passion, this belief in this product will carry them through, even they forgot a line or if they feel nervous for a second.
Now, for startup founders, many of them have a clear-cut role model for success. I want to be Steve Jobs, take a company public, become a multi-billionaire, change the world. I want to know, what is your definition of success for you and someone like you today? Now, when I was growing up, people who were interested in journalism, it was clear cut. You wanted to be the network anchor. When I was growing up, Walter Cronkite was the most famous and probably most trusted man in America because he was the news anchor of the number one news broadcast, CBS News. Everyone knew who he was. Most people admired him. I did have an opportunity to meet him once. I didn't get to interview him. And when I was growing up, that was up here. And then the local anchors, everyone knew, because there were only 3 TV channels. Everyone watched the local news. Everyone knew who that was. These days, I could walk down the street and at least 2 of the 3 major American news network anchors could walk down the street. No one would notice. And if virtually any network news anchor from a local station in South Florida, which is the 6th largest media market in the country, if any of them walked past me here in Florida, I would have no idea who they are. Mm-hmm. So they're not really the role model because they don't occupy the position in popular culture in a dominant way, the way they used to. So it's no longer clear cut of here's the top spot and you're going to make $25 million a year and that's it. I want to know, given your own passions for communication in all fields, journalism, acting, voice, brand ambassadorship, what do you see is really being successful in this field of what you're doing? And where do you want to be, let's say 5-10 years from now?
Oh, this is a very deep question. I should first think of it.
And we can take a second to think about it. I mean, part of the beauty of this is we're not network TV where we have to worry about, oh gosh, we lost 1 viewer, we lost $30 million in ad revenue. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Beast While you're thinking about that, quick reminder, we're speaking with Yulia Zava. She is an internationally renowned expert in broadcast journalism. She's interviewed everyone from heads of countries like Mikhail Gorbachev, leading sports figures like Messi, the soccer player. She's interviewed British royals, you name it. And she's been in a lot of different fields of the communications industry, broadly speaking. We're going to, in a moment, ask her to promote. She didn't get to where she is without being a strong promoter, starting at the age of 12, promoting the idea of her being a young student journalist. So we're going to ask her to promote anything she wants to, as we always do on this show. Okay? Because in part, we want to give people new role models of promoting, getting people comfortable with the idea of promoting and not being ashamed to promote, whether it's their latest book, their latest podcast, their latest YouTube channel, their latest online course. And I'll ask my colleague Ben if we could post a link to all of Yulia's social media links, because you're quite active in social media on YouTube. We have your Instagram and Vimeo. And Ben, are we able to go ahead and post that in the comment section? We'll be posting that on the notes for the show as well, on the podcast, and as well as the description. So, Yulia, now that you've had a moment to digest that question, I'll let you dive into any part of that.
Now it's my moment. Okay, so as I mentioned, I just created my YouTube channel called All Things Happy, where I am excited to continue what I've been doing, which I love the most, interviewing exciting people, but focus fully on things which make you enjoy this life, because my strong philosophy, we are in this world to experience joy, to experience happiness. Like, that's what I'm
And I
going to
apologize for interrupting. It's because it looks like a fascinating channel. How do you define success for you on Udemy? Again, the old days, success as a journalist, your network anchor, everybody knows you, every story has a huge impact, audience influence. With YouTube, there's Mr. Beast with billions of views, making hundreds of millions. What do you see for your particular interest and vision of a channel? What's success in terms of reach, audience, revenue, impact?
Of course, I would love to have a million of views. Of course, I would love to be able to interview any person I want. So that would define success for me in terms of my new adventure, my new venture, my YouTube channel. I'm just starting. I have, like, I don't know, 0.5 people there, but I don't know yet all of the intricacies of this world, and I'm excited to dwell into it, to learn something new. So yeah, thinking right now as we speak, what would define my success in this particular area, not my success in life, not my success as a woman, as a person, right, as a God's creature, specifically for this YouTube channel. Like, what I would love, what I would see is a success, yeah, as I said, millions of views and an opportunity to just reach out to anyone I want, and they will be like, oh yeah, we would love you to interview us, we would love to be there. So that would be a great success for me.
Mm-hmm. We live in a world where everyone likes to talk about, multiple streams of revenue and, triple threat and all of that. In your ideal world, how do you spend your time between a YouTube channel, blog post on LinkedIn, being a brand ambassador, being offered opportunities to do keynote speaking or MC? What is your ideal mix of activities, professional activities, separate, distinct business models that all feed into your overall vision of being a communications expert?
I think everything you just mentioned is perfectly fitting in, and I constantly take acting classes, like, all the time, like stand up, improv. It thrills me, it helps me. By the way, like, improv is the best way. If you're afraid of public speaking on stage, you dive head first into your fears, you go to improv class, boom, you'll be craving the opportunity to speak in front of the audience. I think it's all aligned. And honestly, I am this type of personality who loves to do many things at the same time. I get more energy when I do more things. And I hate routine. That's what I loved about news. I loved about TV, that every day is new day. Every day is different. So having all of those avenues for me, what you mentioned, it actually makes me very excited. I wouldn't want to do brand ambassador every single day. And like, yeah, I wouldn't do just like sitting in front of my Zoom doing nonstop public speaking coaching. I truly love to mix, and I think it's all makes it so much stronger, and that's what makes me a unique public speaking coach, because I have so many areas of expertise and my curiosity, and I'm constantly learning. This is some of the message I actually wanted to share on this podcast. Is just, I think it's very important for well-being of yourself, of the world, is to constantly learn. The world is so wonderful. Like, go to the museum and you might like cry looking at the painting, last painting Van Gogh painted. Or like, I don't know, like, my dream is to travel to all of the major museums. Like, I've been to Uffizi, Louvre, all of those, but like, just have some passion in the beautiful world around you. Like, be curious. I constantly read about like astronomical events, like what did they discover, and I think this will make you like overall much more interesting communicator. That's my ability, how I could speak to people who is on the top level and people who's in the prison, and sometimes people are shocked how I can get
And
along
sometimes
with.
the people in the top level are the ones in prison too. So, hey, you mentioned public speaking training. Tell, do you have any tip you think is an unusual tip? I mean, a lot of us in the public speaking training business give a lot of the same advice. Do you have any tip that you give to people that you think is unique, different, or something that your own clients have said, hey, I hadn't heard of that before? That was really useful.
Again, I think there is no one pill for everyone, and I think I am not your typical public speaking coach. Since I was a child, I hated when people try to put you in a box. Like, if you studied finance, oh, you have to, which I did. I have master in finance, right? Like, you have to work there. I am like, it's me. I am just like breaking all of the boxes. So same with public speaking. Like, I never do like a group class, because I don't know, like, something which works for me will might not work for these people. So my approach is completely unique, and I just
So you
love
typically
finding.
work one-on-one with a
I only
founder.
work one-on-one, yes, because oh my
So
goodness.
tell us how that works. If I'm a startup, let's imagine, it takes a lot of imagine. Let's imagine I'm a 23-year-old founder, and I consider myself introverted. I've maybe got a PowerPoint deck I've already shown people a few times. That's how I've got some funding. And I come to you and say, hey, I don't like public speaking, but I know I've got to do it. And I'm nervous. I've gotten feedback. I'm not very good. Help me be a better presenter. What's the next? And I've got a full day with you now. I've paid for the day. How do you help me? What do you do? Where do we start?
Well, get you excited. I'll get you excited about public speaking. I get you excited about this presentation. I find the way why you think you're a bad speaker. Who gave you this idea? Who are those people defining that you are a bad public speaker? So, and let's say some people need training in like their, as I already mentioned, like working on their pronouncing it, projecting it. So I have so many cards in my sleeves with my extensive theater training, again, in Moscow, in New York, and Los Angeles. Like, I can just like pull any thing you need. I was like, I can have you like jumping from some of like my yoga techniques, which will build up your energy. Like, if it's lacking the structure, like, if I see the presentation and it's like all over the world, like, no, this is the structure, like simplicity and order. That's what will help us firm on the ground during this presentation. So everyone is different. And I know that I can help with most of the, um, I don't want to call them issues, but most of the questions they needed to be addressed to make it perfect. And we're gonna have fun. We're gonna rehearse it, like, as if, like, let's say it's a live audience. I'll have them I'll be like playing multiple roles, like in the audience or something. So they kind of get the thrill of it. If it's on stage, if it's gonna be on TV, we're gonna imitate. Like I'm a interviewer on the TV. So yeah, I only love working one-on-one because I know many public speaking coaches probably like will disagree with me and are fine with like having like mm, guidelines for all of the clients, which I'm not.
Well, one-on-one is definitely the most powerful way of really helping someone. So I think on that we're in agreement. Yulia, we want to respect your time and extend you the courtesy we give to all of our guests here. And that means we want to give you sort of a blank slate to pitch, to demonstrate your craft, to demonstrate your communication skills. There are no strings attached as far as giving you a requirement, but I want to give you 2 minutes to pitch anything you want, whether it's your YouTube channel, your LinkedIn channel. I'm going to take myself off the screen, and I want you to just to share whatever it is you're passionate about and direct people anywhere you want, promote any product, whether it's your training service, coaching service, whatever it is. But I'm going to give you 2 minutes starting now.
That So yeah, like as soon as TJ said it, I start being nervous. I was like, oh my goodness, what I'm gonna say. And then I'm like, I'm gonna thrill. I'm going to get excited on this feelings. So I would love for you guys to reach out to me if you want to be interviewed for my beautiful YouTube channel, All Things Happy. And it can be literally anything. You can be, I don't know, snake whisperer and making a difference in the snake world or in the world, or you can be a very passionate, I just love when people are passionate, honestly, or you can be a very passionate environmental leader who is making difference like in development, like you developing houses, but you have this mindful approach, not doing it for the way people have done it for the money, but you kind of have a bigger vision. So I think that's what excites me. That's what I want to see on my channel. So if you guys one of those, please reach out to me. I would be happy to interview you. And if you are a young, passionate startup founder, well, not necessarily startup founder, if you need my help with presenting yourself for big audience, small audience, live presentation, interview, I will be happy to help you as well with all of my years of expertise in public speaking and journalism and interviewing. I actually did teach my class even in interviewing at Moscow State University, so I can help you with that. And thank you for having me. I don't know if TJ is still there.
Yulia, thanks so much. Great passionate example. You're practicing what you preach. It does bring up a question. You're someone who's passionate about speaking and you are willing to go and really do what it takes. If you had to wash your hair in the sink and sleep on the subway platform, you are willing to do that. And so there's sort of one level of extroversion. There are a lot of people today who are more introverted, and there always have. I don't mean to say it's uniquely today, introverted. And a lot of times people get into this habit of they spend so much time telling themselves they're introverted, they compound it and make it more and more, and they put these limitations on themselves. What do you do to convince people that they don't have to change their personality to be a good communicator? Because I have people come to me all the time and say, well, TJ, I can't be a good speaker. I'm an introvert. And I remind them, well, Steve Jobs was an introvert. He was a good speaker. You can be a great communicator regardless of where you are on a spectrum of introversion and extroversion. Obviously, being more extroverted, wanting to speak, liking to speak, pitching yourself, not being afraid of rejection makes it a lot easier to get more opportunities to speak and then get more confidence. That's obviously the easiest way. But what mindset change, what ways of thinking do you have when you're working with someone who just puts this limitation on themselves by constantly telling themselves, I can't do this because I'm an introvert? Because it does seem to me to be a very self-limiting belief, even though it's perfectly fine to think of yourself as an introvert.
It's a great observation you're making. Exactly what we talked. It's those masks, it's those boxes like society puts in ourselves, and then we take it on and we say, I'm this person who's bad at public speaking. So that's where we, as coaches, come in. Like we almost those like coaches which like cheer for you, like, yes, you can do it. And sometimes this helps for them. As I mentioned, even in acting, a lot of actors, they're actually introverted, but they put themselves on the stage because they strongly believe in those words of the writer. They want to communicate this message. They want to bring to life this character. So they don't think of themselves as being Bob, the introvert. He is like completely this Chekhov love hero. So sometimes it helps to remind them like you are there to present your product. Like if you are passionate about this product, just let the world see it. And sometimes it helps when you take the focus off yourself and put it into something you are truly deeply care. So that's why I keep bringing it back and back to like being passionate, being true like to something. You're not doing it because you have a role model. You're not doing it because you want to be a millionaire just for the sake of being a millionaire. You're doing it because you truly feel it in yourself, and then you remind yourself why you're doing this. Or sometimes
Great
I do something
insights.
extreme. Sometimes I do something extreme. I'll be like, okay, you go and sing on Hollywood Boulevard. It is scary, but after you sang on Hollywood Boulevard, you won't be afraid to go and speak. Sometimes even those extreme measures help.
Uh-huh. Great insights. Yulia Zava, thank you so much for being our guest today. We really appreciate your time and we'll stay in touch. Thanks.
Thank you, TJ. Very great meeting you in person. I've taken your Forbes course for public speaking, and I was like, what a wonderful way to put all of those amazing things in just 1 hour. So thank you.
Oh, well, thanks. Thanks so much. All right. Take care. We'll be in
Have a
touch. Thanks.
wonderful day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. All right. I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Show. It's all about how to help you become a better communicator and how to be a more confident communicator. Just finishing up an expert with another professional communicator. Always like to get different perspectives of people in the communication business, in the communication industry. There's always a slightly different approach, a slightly different idea, a different way of looking at things. So we try to learn from all of those. So thanks so much. Shifting gears, I many of you who've been with me regularly know that I have been really trying to master the use of technology, specifically digital clones, how communicators can use digital clones to communicate to more people more effectively around the world. Just this morning, I completely changed the settings of my own digital clone. So I want to do a test with you. And if you have any questions for my clone about communication skills or personal development skills, you can post it right here. You can post it in the comments. You can post it in the private chat. You can push the button on StreamYard and join us right here. And Ben, I think we have the StreamYard link. If we can go ahead and maybe repost the StreamYard link, and that way people can join us. Let me make sure I'm looking at the comments. Okay, great. And I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to my comments section because we had a number of comments, and apologies to our guest because I didn't see these comments coming in. I don't know why, but they just did not refresh properly today. Apologies to our guest for missing that. Janice writes, Yulia Zava is bringing energy. I'm glad joining the show. Thank you, TJ. Well, Janice, an unconventional advice. Thank you for stopping by. Anto writes, Mon Cherie, New York City. So Anto, I think one of our guest friends. And Janice also writes, all things happy. That says it all. Thank you, Yulia Zava. So thank you for those encouraging words, Janice. And I apologize for missing those earlier. I didn't see those. So right now, I'm going to bring on our special guest, our recurring guest, and that is the TJ Walker digital clone. And apologies if this seems self-serving or narcissistic, but I'm trying to learn something new here. I'm trying to figure out how can I use the technology of digital cloning and help more people, share more insights, create more training experiences, coaching experiences that can be meaningful to help people around the world. And ideally, figure out a way to make it helpful to you too. Because I know that if you're watching this program, whether it's on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or any place else, there's a good chance you yourself are an author, an expert, a coach, a trainer, a consultant, a workshop leader, someone who is trying to help the world through your expertise. And you're doing it in some form of communication, whether you're an author, a trainer, a coach, a public speaker, a keynote speaker, or increasingly these days, a combination of all of those. So we're going to do a little test here because I've just changed the settings on my clone, and I want to see if they've taken hold. So let's call the TJ Walker clone, see what happens.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you?
TJ, I'm trying to improve my habits these days. I would like to get in even better shape. So I'm thinking of really looking for new habits to help me eat healthier, to consume fewer calories, to get more movement, more activity in my day, and to overall just be healthier and sleep better. Help me get better with these habits right now.
To get into better shape and improve your habits, it's crucial to build a solid foundation. Start by eliminating junk food from your house. Replace it with healthier options like fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins.
Well, TJ, hang
This
on.
simple
That
change.
sounds like good generic advice, but I don't eat junk food. I think my problem more is if I'm around really, really healthy food, I just eat too much of it. So if it's a salad, great, salads are healthy, and I'm only putting oil and vinegar on. But I may have too many nuts and I may have too much avocado on, which are in healthy and small portions. But I think my portion control is not quite where it should be. Do you have any advice there to my specific needs?
Absolutely. Portion control can be a tricky aspect of maintaining a healthy diet, even with nutritious foods. Here's a strategy that might help you. Try using smaller plates and bowls for your meals. This simple change can make a significant difference in how much you consume. When you fill a smaller plate, it naturally limits your portion size without making you feel deprived. Another tip is to pre-portion your snacks. For example, if you enjoy nuts, measure out a single serving and put it in a small container. This way, you're not tempted to eat straight from the bag, which can lead to overeating. Also, consider mindful eating practices. Take the time to savor each bite, chew slowly, and pay attention to your body's hunger and fullness cues. This can help you
TJ,
recognize when
great.
you're
All good
satisfied.
advice. And for those of you just joining us, I'm TJ Walker. We're doing a test here. I'm testing my digital clone. I've recently, just this morning, changed its mandate, changed its written purpose, because before it was only about communication skills. Now I'm trying to make it more personalized to help people with my two main areas of expertise, which are personal development as well as communication skills. Because last week and earlier this week, if I asked a question about personal development, it would try to steer the direction of the conversation, getting me practicing my communication skills. So it wasn't quite in alignment. I made a mistake in the programming. So now I'm trying to figure out how can I really have it listen to someone's concerns and then take them on a journey to where specifically they want to go. TJ, back to you. Here's where I feel like I need help because I'm all in favor of exercise. I typically do 12,000 to 15,000 steps per day. I did 16,000 steps yesterday, got my aerobic exercise from playing pickleball. But the problem I face is I'm here in Florida this time of year. It's too hot to exercise in the middle of the afternoon. And in the evenings, frequently there's been a lot of rain. If there's rain, I can't go outside and play pickleball, which is my favorite sport. Yeah, I could go to the gym, but I just hate going on the treadmill. So, do you have any suggestions for me on how I can get more exercise, specifically aerobic exercise, in on a daily basis, given my own unique perspective with the weather here in Florida and not really liking indoor treadmill style exercise. Your thoughts, TJ Clone?
Given your situation in Florida, where the weather can be a challenge, let's explore some creative ways to keep your aerobic exercise routine engaging and effective. One option is to try indoor activities that don't feel like traditional gym workouts. For instance, consider joining a dance class or an indoor swimming pool. Both can provide excellent aerobic exercise without the monotony of a treadmill.
And
Another
it's
idea is
funny
to
you
invest
mentioned
in a
that.
home.
It's funny you mentioned that, TJ Clun, because I did in fact take it ballroom dancing last year with my wife, and we enjoyed it. We had fun, but I don't feel like it was a really aerobic workout because this was ballroom dance. But it was certainly better than watching TV or sitting on a couch. So it's a good suggestion. I have done that, but we didn't enjoy it enough to really take it to the next level and the next level. So we stopped after the first, I guess, 3 or 4 months of introductory training. But please continue with what you were saying a moment ago.
All right, let's keep the momentum going. Since ballroom dancing didn't quite hit the mark for you, let's explore some other engaging options. How about trying a high energy indoor activity like a spin class or a Zumba session? These can be fantastic for getting your heart rate up, and they have a fun community vibe that makes the workout feel less like a chore. Another idea is to create a mini circuit workout at home. You can include exercises like jumping jacks, burpees, and high knees. These are all great for aerobic fitness and can be done in a small
And that is
space.
something, well, I
Plus,
do
you can
exercise every day at home, and I do jumping jacks and stretching exercises and lifting weights every day at home, but not to the point where I'm getting true aerobic exercise. Let's shift gears a little bit, TJ. I want you to help me really feel like I am advancing even further in my career. I would like to figure out a way of carving out more time for true deep work because I am a huge fan of Cal Newport concept of deep work. I'm trying to reduce time that I just spend doing the shallow work of answering, responding to people on LinkedIn and social media. But I still sometimes grapple, especially if I'm traveling, with the idea of truly carving out 4 or 5 hours where I put my cell phone away, don't answer email, and I really, really immerse myself in either creating a script for a new course or a programming for a new clone. Any other advice you have for me on truly protecting and carving out this 4 or 5 hour chunk of daily deep work time?
To truly carve out that 4 to 5 hour chunk for deep work, you need to treat it as sacred time. Imagine it as an unbreakable appointment with your future success. Start by scheduling this block on your calendar every single day, just like you would for an important meeting. Make it non-negotiable. When it comes to distractions, you have to be ruthless. Turn off your phone, or better yet, put it in another room. Disconnect from the internet if possible. Create a physical and mental environment that signals to your brain that this is deep work time. One strategy that works wonders is the two-phase approach. Begin your day with a short, intense burst of deep work, say 30 minutes to an hour. This primes your brain and sets the tone for the day. Then later in the day, dive into a longer session of 3 to 4 hours. This way, you build momentum and reinforce the habit of deep work. Remember, the key is consistency. Even if you start with just an hour a day, gradually increase it. Protect this time fiercely. You are a big winner with extraordinary potential. By dedicating yourself to deep work, you will unlock new levels of creativity and productivity. What specific project or task would you like to focus on during your deep work sessions? Let's make a
We'll
plan to
come
get
to
you
that
there.
in a minute. If you're just joining us, hi, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful in your ability to communicate effectively and to have confidence in communication. And today we're looking at what I think is the most exciting tool for anyone to communicate, the use of digital clones. We're testing out my digital clone, which is only about 3.5 weeks old. I've just given it a whole new written purpose coding of how it answers questions. So we're testing it out. So that's what I'm doing. If you have questions for my clone on any aspect of communication skills or personal development, you can post it right here. You can come on screen and share with me, or you can just go to the digital clone, which is, and Ben, if you can post the link to our digital clone, it's just delphi.ai/TJ Walker. You can ask the clone in your own private setting, and it will be just for you. So I'm going to ask my clone a new question now. So, TJ Clone, I am concerned that I am a product of my environment, and we live in an environment where, like everyone else, I get bombarded each week by thousands of slickly produced commercials to encourage me to drink sugar water, soft drinks, beer, frappuccinos that have 1,000 calories with all the cream and sugar. I'm bombarded with thousands of messages and email urging me to watch more movies and TV shows on Netflix and social media to waste my time. I'm bombarded with thousands of ads from Amazon and everyone else urging me to buy more stuff I don't really need. I want to counter that. So I would like to start each day hearing a nice message from you addressing me by my own name, which is TJ, and essentially giving me a motivational speech that's kind of like a whole series of well-crafted ads. I want you to think of it in terms of you being a great ad maker, a great marketer, and I want you to use messages in sort of a motivational speaking, uplifting, conversational way where you try to really encourage me to eat healthy food that don't have any processed food and processed sugar in it, to drink more water and not processed sugary drinks, to eat healthy unprocessed food, not things like potato chips. That encourages me to create content, not absorb other people's content. That encourages me to do interesting experiences like walking on the beach and not just sitting watching other people's shows. So that's what I'd like you to do right now. Give me as long of a motivational speech as you can that's personalized to me, designed to really affect my habits, to counter all the negative messages I get out there trying to encourage me to have negative habits.
TJ, you are a big winner with an extraordinary mind capable of shaping your environment and habits to reflect the best version of yourself. Every day, you have the power to make choices that elevate your health, creativity, and overall well-being. Imagine starting your day with a glass of refreshing water, hydrating your body and setting the tone for a day of vitality. Picture yourself reaching for fresh, unprocessed foods that fuel your body with the nutrients it needs to perform at its peak. You are not just consuming food, you are investing in your health, your energy, and your future. When you feel the pull of those slick commercials urging you to indulge in sugary drinks or processed snacks, remember that you are in control. You have the power to choose what goes into your body. Opt for whole foods that nourish you, like crisp vegetables, juicy fruits, and lean proteins. These choices are the building blocks of a strong, healthy body and a sharp, focused mind. As you navigate your day, think about the content you consume. Instead of passively absorbing hours of TV shows or scrolling through social media, channel your energy into creating something meaningful. Write a new script, develop a new course, or brainstorm innovative ideas for your digital clone. Your creativity is boundless, and every moment spent creating is a step towards your extraordinary future. Embrace experiences that enrich your life. Take a walk on the beach, feel the sand between your toes, and let the rhythm of the waves inspire you. These moments of connection with nature are not just relaxing, they are rejuvenating, filling you with a sense of peace and purpose. TJ, You are a big winner, and your potential is limitless. Every choice you make, from the food you eat to the content you create, is a testament to your commitment to excellence. Believe in yourself. Take control of your environment and let your actions reflect the extraordinary person you are. What specific habit would you like to focus on improving first? And how can I help you make that change today?
Okay, TJ, that was pretty good. Those of you just joining me saying, what in the world's going on here? I'm TJ Walker. What I asked my digital clone to do was essentially give me a personalized motivational speech based on the issues I wanted to focus on. And I got to tell you, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I liked it. You may have thought some of that stuff was crazy. Well, it was tailored to me. And what I'm trying to figure out with these clones is how can I ultimately make it a standalone thing where someone wants a clone experience to help them on habits or some aspect of personal development or communication. Short term, how to integrate these with my existing online courses to make them more meaningful to people and to help people more. So that's part of my challenge. Let me ask a different question of my clone now. So clone, here's my situation. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 on a daily basis, with 1 being miserable and suicidal and 10 being the happiest possible a person could be, absolute cloud 9, ecstatic. I would say I'm a 9 on average, which is a lot higher than average, which is a pretty happy person. What suggestions do you have on what I could do to be even happier? How can I get to a 10 on that 1 to 10 scale on a level of happiness?
TJ, you're already at a 9, which is fantastic. To push that to a 10, let's focus on amplifying the elements that bring you joy and fulfillment. First, deepen your connection who matter most to you. Spend quality time with family and friends, engage in meaningful conversations, and create lasting memories. These relationships are the bedrock of true happiness. Next, immerse yourself in activities that ignite your passion. Whether it's creating new content, exploring innovative ideas for your digital clone, or diving into a new hobby, let your enthusiasm guide you. Passion projects can elevate your sense of purpose and satisfaction. Also, consider incorporating more moments of mindfulness and gratitude into your daily routine. Start each day by reflecting on what you're grateful for and set positive intentions. This practice can shift your mindset and enhance your overall
So
well-being.
TJ, that's pretty good
Finally,
stuff. That's
continue to challenge
that's
yourselves.
all pretty good stuff, TJ. But let's bring in our friend Antonio. Antonio, do you have
Hi.
a question for the TJ clone? Because I'd love to give it some different perspectives here.
Yes. For example, I would like to ask to
Antonio,
the
great to
clone.
What can I help you with today? Whether it's communication skills, personal development, or any other area you're looking to
Yeah. I will ask you something.
dive
Please, I
specific.
have a presentation. I have to do a presentation for as I mean, I am a project manager. And this presentation is about the Asian methodology. So, do you know
I'm
this?
sorry, I didn't understand what you said there. The topic of your presentation is what, Antonio?
Is about Asian methodology. Is a project manager have different methodologies.
Antonio,
Um,
here. What can I help you with today?
And I
Whether it's
apologize,
communication
Antonio. It
skills,
may
personal
be that
development, or
it's
any other area.
my clone is hearing me but not picking up from your microphone. So what I'm going to ask is you tell me the question, and then I will ask
yeah,
the question. I'm going to go ahead.
yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and hit mute a second so my clone doesn't hear me. And now go ahead and tell us the
Yeah.
question.
In project management, there are different methodologies, and one of them is called Agile. And this methodology is used mostly for software development. Uh, Usually, this is a well-known topic in this area. I know that perhaps you don't know about this knowledge, but it could be helpful if the clone have it in background. I mean, you can feed in some way on the way that it have an idea. Yeah, in that way it could help mostly IT professionals. I don't know
And
if
I apologize, Antonio. I am missing the actual subject matter. Can you give it to me again, or maybe even type it in? Because I'm just not catching, my ear is not catching what you're saying the topic is.
okay. The
And you
topic
said like
is this one.
ancient methodology. Is that
ASHL, ASHL. No, no. I will write down ASHL, ASHL,
Okay.
Scrum and ASHL methodology.
Oh,
This is
agile. I'm sorry.
Agile,
I may be
Agile.
mispronouncing it.
No,
Agile,
Agile. Yeah,
agile methodology. So
exactly.
you have to give presentations on agile methodology. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Exactly. That's it.
Okay. So let me ask our clone that question, and it'll come back on.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you?
TJ, my friend Antonio is a technologist, and he has to give an upcoming presentation on agile methodology. He wants to make sure it's the best possible presentation. What tips can you give him on preparing, rehearsing, and delivering a presentation on agile methodology?
Antonio's presentation on Agile methodology can truly shine with the right preparation and delivery. Here's a step-by-step approach to ensure it's top-notch. First, start with a clear and engaging opening. Capture the audience's attention with a compelling story or a surprising fact about Agile methodology. This sets the tone and piques interest. Next, structure the presentation around 3 to 5 key points. Each point should be supported by real-world examples and data. This not only makes the content relatable, but also reinforces the practical benefits of Agile. When it comes to rehearsing, practice is paramount. Encourage Antonio to record himself delivering the presentation. Watching the playback will help him identify areas for improvement, such as pacing, clarity, and body language. Rehearse multiple times until he feels confident and natural. During the delivery, maintaining eye contact and using purposeful gestures can significantly enhance engagement. Antonio should also be prepared to handle questions confidently. A good strategy is to anticipate potential questions and prepare concise, informative answers. Finally, end with a strong conclusion that reinforces the main points and leaves a lasting impression. A call to action or a thought-provoking question can be very effective. Antonio should try recording a 2-minute segment of his presentation and watch it back. What does he notice about his delivery? What can he improve? What is your ultimate goal as a communicator? And how would you like me to help you get there?
Okay, I'm going to hang up on TJ there. 1 minute.
Very good.
And so I'll tell you the things I didn't like about that answer. But first, I want to hear from you, Antonio.
Yeah.
What did you?
I think.
And I'll just say one caveat. Since I've not ever spoken or written about agile methodology, there was no way my clone could give detailed advice about it because it doesn't know anything. So now let me hear from you.
Yeah, no, I think it could help if you feed with some general knowledge, but making the clone aware that are not front-knowing knowledge, but that the clone know what I am talking about. Then, and not going deep in the theory, I mean, in this methodology, he can pick up some words from this methodology and add to the presentation. For example, talking about, for example, the iterancia that is a way that it work. I mean, there are different works as a project manager. The management of a project could be handled, and yeah, it could provide some knowledge that make the people from IT or a project manager feel more comfortable because you are giving the surrounding. Even don't knowing deeply, you can give the surrounding because you can give the general knowledge Yeah, that is my idea. It could, I think, contribute, because sometimes what we need is to feel comfortable. It's the same when we are talking about knowledge that we know, so the person know that what I'm needing. Yeah.
Good points, Antonio. And so I'm just trying to think about now how can I make my clone better and more useful to you and other people like you? So in theory, you've asked this question today. Let's say the next week I get a couple more questions about agile methodology. I could spend an hour researching the topic, reading a book on it, and then making, let's say, a 15-minute video, either live or other times, about agile methodology with my own spin, my own perspective. If I'm making a YouTube video on it, that is automatically ingested into my clone. So anything I say in a video on
No,
YouTube,
I am
my
thinking.
clone can now pull on that to give a better answer next time. So this can constantly improve and iterate.
I am thinking in a more general way to feed your clone with general information. Something like using your voice, but that you can feed him from text. I mean, providing some general information, like the food that you was talking today, or general routines for exercise. I think it could. I mean, it could be that there is a way to feed them with text. So
yes, I mean the clone can definitely take pure text. I mean, some of my books in the background there, all the text has just been ingested right in. So I could ask it any question about, tell me the main themes found in the Secret to Foolproof presentations, and it could tell me. The question is, I mean, there's some legal questions here, some copyright. I could, in theory, just read a book out loud about agile technology, it record it all, and it's got the data. But if I'm reading a book, that I don't own the copyright to that. I might own the book, but I don't own the copyright to that book. So I could just, if I had it in a text format, I could upload an entire book that someone else wrote about agile methodology, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to steal someone else's work and pass it off for my
own. It could be something from Wikipedia, for example, something general, only something knowledge. Not about ASHIELD, about project management methodologies in general.
Now, one of the interesting things about this cloning platform I'm using, Delphi.ai, is they have a setting that lets you determine how strict do you want the clone to be as far as pulling only exact information that you've said versus sort of a looser thing that kind of incorporates, and I don't know all the sources they're pulling from yet, but a looser interpretation that can kind of pick some things that are from public knowledge and make a more expansive definition. So I have opted on a fairly strict interpretation of things I've said, in part because I think by the time I finished uploading, I'm going to have 10 million words of my own ideas in there. So I figure that's a pretty big thing. And I also want to be careful about not giving bad information, because if I said, here's the widest range, take a wide range of stuff, I'm personally afraid it would give information like, oh, you want to practice for a speech? Practice out loud in front of a mirror, because a lot of people say that. A lot of websites say that. I happen to think that's horrible advice. So I don't want my own clone with my own voice giving bad advice. And soon when it's in a video format, I don't want someone seeing my body, hearing my voice, giving what I consider to be horrible advice. So that's why I've kept it on a fairly narrow niche, because I do think that one of my strengths as a communication coach is I'm not giving the same advice everyone else is giving, and that it's better advice, and that I'm not giving out a lot of bad advice, because I personally feel that there's a tremendous amount of bad advice given out by
Yeah.
people in the communications field.
Yeah.
So that's what's a little bit different. And I've got to still grapple with that. Antonio, I really appreciate you being here. I'm a half an hour past time we were supposed to get off, so I'm going to have to say goodbye. And
Thank you.
some people will find this surprising. I actually do exist and do live in ways that are not live on social media all the time. So I'll have
Yeah.
to sign off. But Antonio, I would love it if you could do me a favor and ask a few more questions of my clone, and then just write to me either on the Facebook page or email. Let me know how you think it's doing and if it's getting better.
Oh, it's doing very good. I was
Right.
only a contribution. The thing is,
I
we
just made a change this morning. So if you wouldn't mind trying again and seeing, because here's
okay.
what I'm really trying to get to. I don't want this to be just a tool where you ask a question, because I don't think people find that very valuable. You can get a question answered for free on all sorts of
On
websites,
Google, on whatever.
on
Yeah.
Google, on Bing, on Quora. You can get good answers. I don't think there's real value to that. What I think
Okay.
people value is a transformational experience where I go from either no good or low level at one thing, and I get better and better and better, and I get mastery. That's what people pay for if they hire me for a day of public speaking training or a media training. And I'm guiding them the whole way. They're going to be on camera a dozen times. They're not leaving until they've seen a video of themselves give a great speech or a great media interview. And they're walking away not just with intellectual understanding, but with a skill set in muscle memory in their bones and their muscle and their face. They've seen themselves do it. And that's what people pay a lot of money for.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to figure out, how can I use the clone to get people on that same experience, that same journey. So that's what I'm trying to work on. So
Perfect.
if you don't mind giving it a little more of a try and giving me feedback, would be very much appreciated.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Got to go. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.